participation and interest. At this point, I am delighted to call to the stage to give us a little bit of a primer about graphene, Dr. Zina Cinker, Director of the National Graphene Association, and a professor at Vanderbilt University. Dr. Cinker, thank you for hosting this event. Welcome to the stage, and we all look forward to hearing from you and learning from your expertise. Dr. Cinker.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Graphene on Capitol Hill. I want to start by thanking Sen Wicker for his unwavering support and for being a true champion for graphene in the United States. I was going to explain graphene, but you did such a wonderful job. That was actually my presentation. Torko, can I have the clicker, please? Oh, there it is. Okay. It is a wonderful opportunity for us to be here, and a wonderful opportunity that was offered to us to be able to raise the profile of graphene in this room on Capitol Hill and to bring attention to it amongst our policymakers and our government agencies. Okay. Well, a lot of you in this room live and breathe graphene, but for those of you who don't, Sen Wicker explained it really well, but so there's going to be a little repetition, also expecting that. What is graphene? Graphene is one atomic layer of carbon. It is the thinnest and strongest material ever existed. At one atomic layer, it is transparent and it's extremely flexible. Everybody knows about graphite, right? So graphite is made of many, many layers of carbon. If you're able to exfoliate and isolate only one atomic layer of that, that would be called graphene. And as Sen Wicker explained, two researchers from University of Manchester in 2004, they isolated graphene for the first time, and they went ahead to win the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2010 for their discovery and also for the work that they did in understanding the properties of graphene. It was such an exciting time when graphene first was discovered. It was, first was isolated. It was the first two-dimensional material we've ever known. Such an exciting field for us to explore. It was so exciting, it actually started one of the fastest paced research topics in the history of humankind. I'm telling you, every government agency in the US, probably almost all of them, has actually funded graphene research extensively. As a result of that, there was this very extensive base of knowledge that was discovered for graphene. Hundreds of thousands of scientific papers, over 50,000 patents worldwide that came together in such a short period of time. Graphene has been around for what, 15 years almost? And we have this base of knowledge to work on. It was because of the potential of graphene. In 2013, this is what happens when I cannot see the screen. So I'm going to go skip over that and just going to go, okay. In 2013, European Commission put the biggest amount of money they've ever put behind any technologies. They put €1 billion behind a program called Graphene Flagship. Immediately after that, we saw very strong momentum, very, I would say, aggressive move from China, with investment of billions of dollars in graphene technology and industry parks, and also injection of cash and injection of funding into graphene startups and companies. If you look at the trend, graphene has been number 2 on the 5-year plan of China for 2 consecutive periods. If you look at the patent landscape for graphene, you don't need to look at this. There's nothing on there that I cannot explain with words. The important thing about the intellectual property landscape with China is that until 7 years ago almost, we didn't really see a very big footprint from China in intellectual property. Over a span of 5 to 7 years, things changed dramatically. Now China owns more than 58% of intellectual property in the world of graphene. And that is indicative of a strategic plan from the central government of China that sees graphene as an essential material that is going to be impacting the technology roadmap for China in the next 10 to 20 years. So why is so much excitement about graphene? What is so special about graphene? It's because graphene's got so many different properties in this one single package that makes it a prime candidate for use in many different industrial segments. And today you're going to be hearing all about these different industrial segments, how graphene fits within different industries, so I'm not going to go over that, but I want to mention a few of those interesting developments. For example, graphene water filters that can make whiskey clear, they can make seawater drinkable. Graphene flexible Wi-Fi transmitters and receivers by Flagship that are going to enable us to have those fully flexible electronics. Graphene tattoos, biosensors that could sit on your skin and they could measure your heart rate, your EKG, and your body temperature. Those are only a few examples of what graphene can do. The last point I would like to make is actually it's a point of confusion that I often come across when I talk to the media and I talk to the public, sometimes end-user industries about graphene. And that comes from the fact that we all hear these different stories about graphene in the news, right? We hear this one atomic layer, super thin, super strong. At the same time, we hear graphene is going to be used in asphalt, in concrete, in bike tires. Putting these two things together, people actually ask me, so how is graphene going to be going into asphalt? Is it draping over asphalt? Is the bike tire wrapped in graphene? I was at a party just a little while back, and someone came to me and told me, so I heard in the news that graphene is going to be used in the body of airplanes. I said, yes. And he said, and graphene is this transparent and very thin and strong layer. And I said, yes. And he said, so does that mean that in the future we're going to have airplanes made of graphene? They're going to be these invisible tubes. They're going to be going through the sky, and you can see people as they're flying away. Don't laugh, I get that a lot, different versions of it. What do you think that person does for a living? Take a guess. Anybody, any guess?
Banker.
Banker? Okay, anybody else? He's actually a very well-known fundamental physicist. If a physicist is asking that question, it's because we need to explain that there are actually two different forms of graphene. There is a graphene film, and there is a graphene powder. The graphene film is that one atomic layer, super thin, super strong, those excellent properties, electrons traveling with the speed of light in crystal, the thinnest, the strongest, that is graphene film. And when you're thinking about it, not in all cases, but in most cases when you think of applications of graphene film, think electronics, optoelectronics, next generation devices, infrared sensors, biosensors, touchscreen devices, those Wi-Fi transmitter receivers. Not in all cases, but in most cases, you can think of it from those next generation optoelectronics devices. The way the graphene film is made is actually, in most commercial cases, is from the base material of a carbon-based gas, usually methane. But there's another form of graphene. It's called the graphene powder. And graphene powder is really a powder, it's a black powder. And we have both of those forms on the display tables right there. During the break, please feel free, go around and look at those. There are descriptions of each of them. The graphene powder comes in a vial, it's a black powder. And it usually comes in a form, comes from the base material of graphite. Not always, usually. And we have different ways of exfoliating graphite. Everybody's got their own patent process for exfoliating, or as I sometimes call it, blowing up graphite. Some people use plasma, some people use chemical exfoliation, some people use mechanical exfoliation. And what you end up with is these little platelets of carbon, which have not usually one atomic, but they have multiple layers of graphene. So when you hear these stories during today from our industry council members talking about graphene in asphalt, in paint and coatings, it is a graphene powder. And with that, my work here is done. You're going to be hearing all about exciting things about graphene. I'm going, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip questions, but I'll be around all day. So if you have any questions, please come and find me. And I want to thank you again, all of you, for being here today with us to raise the profile of graphene. Graphene has an immense future, and it's about time that we bring it to the attention of the U.S. government and U.S. government agencies. Thank you so much for your attention. For our next segment, it's probably one of the most anticipated parts of this summit, is a fireside chat with Dr. James Tour, professor of nanoengineering and material science from Rice University.